It's time for TL against NS Hosa. In today's losers match, today only one team will be advancing. Kaldor, are you ready for this match?
I am so ready, and after the GSTL matches that we had in the recent days, in the last few days, it's actually going to be pretty exciting to see Team Liquid again, and of course NS Hosa as well. And I'm really excited about TL today. I feel like what we've seen from Life against Slayers, it was definitely not a fluke. The guy is actually that good. And you talked a bit with TLO and the Team Liquid team earlier about the performance.
Yeah, I talked to basically TLO. And what he told me was basically the strategy that we saw from Life were so crazy and out there and risky that it was hard for them to mentally prepare against this guy. It got into their heads a little bit. And I can definitely understand that, you know, especially after he rushed Lair or he went for a Muta rush against Jinro, for example. Dario told me, you know, like in his game, in the final game, he played too safely and he got a little bit supply blocked. He felt like he could have maybe held that push that he died to, but in the end, he just wasn't able to, and he said he was kind of on the edge of it.
I actually talked to Hate Pro also about the game that he played against Life, and he said that what Life did didn't make any sense to him. We talked about it, how it was really weird to see Life go for all these techs that he built at the same time. It was a huge investment. He just went for Infestors, he had Hydralisks with his push, he had a few Mutalisks and even Roaches. So it was just this strategy that he chose that Hate Pro was completely confused about, as were we, and it was really nice to see that Life could get away with it. But just him using all these strategies, it was definitely something that kind of got to Team Liquid and blocked them mentally.
Yeah.
So today we will see how they are able to perform against NS Hosa, and guys, don't forget about it, we have them with their full roster today. We have them with Tasia.
Yep. And that is going to be a pretty big deal. Obviously, Tasia, one of the strongest players on their team. Here you can see a bunch of stats from these two players. Obviously, Team Liquid 0-1. They've only played one time, and today could be their last if they don't take the win over NS Hosa. NS Hosa currently 6-6, and we're the champions of GSTL Season 1 Venus, the division there.
We have two Code S players in the Team Liquid lineup. NS Hosa is currently without a single player in Code S. They only have a few Code A players and of course 8 players in Code B, as you can see on the lineup as well. The race distribution though is a lot better for NS Hosa. Team Liquid with a lot of Zergs here.
Yeah, very Zerg heavy on the roster, and I think probably right now I would say Zenio, the strongest player they have that Zerg can offer on the roster today, you know, here in the studio. But TLO has shown some promise, especially it seems in ZVP. ZVZ seems to be kind of a problem for him. But we're up against NS Hosa, which is a roster, I think, probably the best race-distributed roster in the entire GSTL, arguably, having so many different players from each race that are very strong.
Yep. And we're going to find out who the opening players are very, very soon. It's going to be very interesting what kind of players they're going to choose here, especially with Team Liquid. Obviously, they have not only Hero, and I actually feel that Hero got also a little bit unlucky against Life. We talked about it earlier. The thing is that Hero was he wasn't really outplayed by his opponent. I think it's rather that he was a little bit outsmarted. This opening that Life chose was something that Hero did not expect, and then suddenly from this point on he was already behind. We had a nice lead for Life that he capitalized on, and it was just really well executed. And I really think that if Hero is playing today, we will see a different Hero and a different performance.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Well, here is our first team. It is NS Hosa, our university team here in Korea, showing their lineup of players there, and what a sick lineup it is.
Yeah. Jakji and Seal, those are the two players that I am really looking forward to die.
Yep. I actually want to see Tassadar. That's someone I've been looking for a little bit. I want to see him come out. Can't wait to see what they're going to do today. Hands are in.
Seal without his glasses today.
Yeah.
A good choice.
He may put them on in the booth, but he is looking fashionable outside the booth on the bench. He's not going to trick us today with his new glasses style.
I was really confused the last time. I saw him and I was like, is that him? Who is this? And then, okay, he's wearing glasses, he changed. Well, and we are having a quick look at the roster.
Yeah, let's take a look at their race distribution and breakdown of where they are, Code B, A, or S. It is, of course, going to be broken down by races here.
Exactly. We have our Protoss players first with Sage, Tassadar, and San very strong players, but also Sting.
Yeah, Sting, a good Terran player. We have Salvation, a newer player, as well as Joxy making up the Terrans. But, of course, with our Zergs, we have Freaky and Seal. Freaky managing to qualify for Code A along with Seal. A very, very good creep-spreading Zerg. That's what he's been known for.
And a really freaky strategy that we saw from him the last time. So Freaky, definitely one of the players we have to watch out for today.
I'm still a little bit freaked out by that, in fact.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Here's the NS Sosa bench with Jockji to the top left.
Yep, and there's San, you can see there next to the coach. And a strong lineup of players on that bench, in fact. You know, I mean, I've said this a million times now, I feel, but it's just true. Well, here are their opponents making their second appearance in the GSTL. It is Team Liquid, and you will notice there is Tasia, as you mentioned before. He is here today.
Exactly, we have the Terran. Two Terrans in the middle.
Yep. Put their hands in.
Haber just wants to go to the booth as fast as possible in general. It's like, no, wait, you forgot the huddle, you forgot the huddle.
Yep, you know, Liquid with a lack of depth to their roster currently because only certain players are in Korea. They have a lot more depth to it internationally. They just have a smaller team here actually participating in Korea. I feel their biggest problem is their lack of Protosses. They do have a very strong Protoss, in fact, a round of 4 Protoss in Liquid Hero. But that's all they have. They only have one Protoss, and once he's gone, the threat of Protoss is completely eliminated from this team.
It's perfectly true, but we have them today with the 2 Terrans. We talked a little bit about Tasia already, and how much do you think he will be able to influence today's team match?
You know, I think he will influence it quite a bit. We talked about this a little bit earlier. The question is, what kind of player will they start with? Will they start with a strong player like Tasia or Hero to try to get that oomph, get that confidence going for their team? Or will they kind of bait out the first player by using one of their weaker players? That's the question.
I actually could see Zenio starting today again. He started the last time as the opening player, and we saw for other teams like Zenix using the same player just as an opening player so they can... And I think that might be what we're going to see today. Here we have the roster. We just saw the first 3, and that's our Zerg lineup for Team Liquid, Zenio, TLO, and HeyPro.
Yep, a pretty sick lineup. You know, again, a little bit limited, but still a strong lineup nonetheless. And to be perfectly honest, I'm wondering what the game plan is for this team today. Are they just going to try to power through it, or are they going to go through it as they go? You know, there's 2 ways to play with the roster this small. One way is to have each player with one specific role, and they have them fill that. The other way is to just have them all have kind of like an all-around plan, so that because they're so limited,
and
they don't have the problem. Yep, look who is missing. It is going to be Zenio as their starting player, it looks like.
But the point that you were just trying to make, it is so valid. We have the first map, Whirlwind, and we talked a bit about the possibility of teams just preparing.
Oh, it's Tassadar also, man. We're going to see them both right away here.
Yeah, but trying to prepare a player for certain maps, especially the new ones, not so much for the older ones, but I talked to the team about it at Team Liquid, and they actually said that, well, they kind of all prepared for the new maps. It's not like they sent one player out there to prepare for a specific one, which we've seen other teams do in their match history, just practicing like crazy on a map like Whirlwind or Muspelheim to get an edge over their opposing team. So this is going to be really interesting today, and the new map, that's exactly what we see in the first game.
Yep. Tassadar, a man of many strategies. He's going to be our starting Protoss for NS Hosa. He actually can basically do anything. He is really good at all-ins. That's definitely something I think is his strongest suit. But at the same time, his late game can be quite scary, and his compositions are often so unique. He was one of the first players to use purely Zealot Archon late game in PvT without ever researching Storm. He's up against Zenio here. Obviously a very good Zerg. Was the only player to secure a win for GSTL, or for Team Liquid in our first match in GSTL this season.
Yep, that's going to be good. We have a Zerg versus Protoss. I really like that we are starting with this matchup. I love it as the opening matchup here. Yeah, it's going to be great. I think today we are seeing a different Team Liquid, and NS Hosa, they definitely won't take them lightly.
No, they definitely will not. This is a big map, by the way, Whirlwind. I mean, I know you guys have seen it just a few times, but it's only been out for a little while, so I just want to reiterate that. It's huge. It's a map that a Zerg player, I think, if he uses all of his advantages, will be fine on. He can build towards that Hive tech. The bases you can take on this map are fairly easy to take. Positions matter a lot, though. If you're at close positions, the map is a lot smaller than if you're at cross. If you're at cross, the Zerg has tons of options.
Tassadar looking like a boss here.
Yeah, he does.
And he's really, really confident. The last time we had Zenio kind of messing up a little bit in the early stages of the game when he realized that his hotkeys were not set. And I think this time we won't have this problem.
No, I don't think we will.
He got a warning for this in the last
Yeah, he got a warning, so if it happens again, he will actually just lose the match. We'll find out who is going to take this first match. It's an important game for both teams. It sets the stage here at the GSTL, sponsored by Hot 6. I am Wolf. With me is Caldor, and let's jump into GSL Whirlwind.
Lights go out, it's finally going down. Feel it in the air.
Go dancing in the night to the holy calling you. Gotta keep up the fight.
And it is on. Team Liquid is up against NS Hosa at the top right of Whirlwind. We have our Protoss player in the yellow starting for the NS Hosa team. We have
NS Hosa Tassadar.
Tassadar indeed. And he is in one of his strongest matchups. He's pretty darn good against Zerg, at least compared to his TVP and PvP. And he's up against the Team Liquid player who also opened up against the Zenix team to the bottom right in the blue. We have one player of the Zerg faction of the team in the blue. It is
Liquid Genio.
last time he could win the opening match. He defeated Avenge. How he's going to fare against Tassadar.
You know, NS Hosa has such a good lineup of Protosses. Right now, they have, of course, Sage, San, and Tassadar kind of as their main ones. They've had some great practice partners to work with in the past as well, like Von, for example. Actually, you know, he wasn't the best Protoss, but he showed really weird strategies, a lot of cool all-ins. And I'm sure that's something that they could really study from. It appears he's not on the roster. Doesn't mean he's no longer on the team. He's just not on the roster. They've had a lot of Protoss to work with. Protoss seems to kind of be like, even though they have almost like the perfect split of races, Protoss kind of seems to be their core. Obviously, you have players like Seal and Joksha that really stand out for the races, and Freaky's kind of made his new appearance where it's like, oh, obviously this guy is really, really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Tassador's going to do.
You're actually raising a really good point here. Of course, they have like outstanding players. They have a former GSL champion in their lineup, but the Protoss, that's really the backbone that they have with Sun and Tassadar, especially Sage, obviously too. And now we have the standard opening for Zinio. Nothing. That's actually so funny.
Oh,
I
look
saw
at
this
that.
on Twitter. It was ridiculous. He actually drew the entire Team Liquid team. It took me a while to figure out which one of the characters is trying to resemble whom, because TLO, for example, even though he's one of the smallest in here, he's the biggest guy in the picture in the drawing, and I'm like, is this TLO? Well, it's the only guy with this wild beard. It has to be him.
I hadn't seen that one yet, actually. That's really cool. Well, we have the first 4 Zerglings about to pop out for Zenio to clean up this pylon. He may go for a third block, but with the drone not going over there, he doesn't actually have to. He has gone Forge before Nexus. Cannon is going down before Gate, which that's actually something I feel he could have skipped on. We are not at cross positions on this map. Again, this actually has not happened yet for this map. It's usually, well, it's only happened twice, in fact, and both times it's been close rotationally. So each time this map has happened, we haven't yet seen what cross positions can mean. But in this case, with the Zerg's position of his third, he can take it fairly easy. It's going to be further away. The Pro's going to have to walk a little bit longer to get over there.
And we currently already have he's positioning an Overlord to the third. He will probably most likely try to take another base very soon. Already with a Zergling just intercepting the probe as it tries to scout if there's already a third hatch in the game. Which is not the case just now. The wall-in for Tassadar, though, is pretty decent. The Lings will have a hard time getting in there. And the Overlords trying to position themselves at the main base, at the natural, just preparing for all these things that you have to do, trying to scout your opponent's opening. And he already knows about the hatch Tassadar, that is.
Yeah, he has seen it. He is making a Zealot back at home while his core goes up, and seeing this is so important. Because this map is so big, he is actually able to sneak a probe into the main now as well. There's so many different places for the probe to hide from Zerglings. He doesn't see the gas timing. There's no gas, in fact. But because this map is so big, as I was going to say, there's a lot of different places to hide probes, hide pylons. So the Zerg has to be very active to make sure no forward pylon goes down so that he doesn't have to deal with that 4 gateway Zealot pressure potentially with Void Rays as well.
And the Lings are a little bit too over here. They don't, well, they actually not. They don't try to take down the Zealot. It wouldn't work at all. With decent micro, with one Zealot, you can take down at least 4 Zerglings if you micro it correctly, and the Zerg player doesn't. So now we have double gas for Zenyu, who is on 3 bases. And the biggest question, once again, in this matchup with the opening that we see for our Team Liquid player is, what is Tassadar going to do? What does the Protoss player try to do? And we have him with the robotics tech.
Yep, robotics tech going down very early here. Very normal timings for Zenio right now with his gases, the Rocheborn going down here as well. He is skipping speed quite significantly here. Zealot will come in and verify this third is not cancelled. Nice micro by Zenio though, not even losing anything to that Zealot. The question is, what is going to be the choice with the robotics? Will he go for a big push? Is he just trying to get this to scout and hold a third? There's so many different options that Protoss has with the Robo.
You can go for the Immortal push. We've seen yesterday play where you just try to block your opponent's ramp, which is really, really strong. We saw JYP doing it on Metropolis. So there are a lot of options, as you pointed out, what a Protoss player can do with this opening. And it's a lot more viable than if you go, for example, for Stargate, I feel. You have a lot more flexibility.
Yeah. Ooh, Warp Prism coming out right away. He's got 3 sentries. I think he's just going to go for a pretty fast sentry drop here.
Yeah.
This can potentially end the game. We've seen it before. We saw this drop yesterday, work to great effect. I mean, this is one of the scariest things a Zerg can ever face, and these are great positions for it. He does have an Overlord in position. He has seen the Robo as well. If he sees this Prism, he will be able to react and get his units into the main, but will he see it? It looks like the answer is no. He does not see the Prism moving out. He has one Overlord in his main to spot, but it's I mean, you can't spot that late. That is way too late to know.
You don't necessarily have to go for the ramp. You can also just try to trap a few of the drones in the mineral line, which we've seen quite often. But without the Stargate opening first, he will have a problem with the scouting, because the Overlords are about to spot it, and there are already roaches in the main base. Blocking the ramp will not win him the game.
It will not win him the game, that is for sure, especially with there being Lings here. He's actually going to turn around right away.
This is exactly what we've seen JYP do a little bit better, or why JYP started with a Stargate. JYP did it because he knew if he wants to pull the strategy off, he needs to make sure that there's no scouting. So killing the Overlords with the Phoenixes in the early game and the Void Rays was really smart. But on the other hand, Tassadar can still use them to trap drones in the mineral line.
Yeah, and that looks like what he's going to do here.
Oh, wow.
Does trap quite a few, but there are roaches here. Nice Zealots to trap and a good Force Shield. He actually has to lift these, though. He doesn't lose anything. The Zealots were cancelled. He loses a lot of mining time, but the Zerg player does with the Force Shields there. I actually really like how careful Tassadar is being here. There's never been a moment with this build where he's been like, wait a minute, I'm just going to do it. In this case, he does get his robotic support base spotted, however, by this Overlord, so that's going to be really useful for Zenio.
The problem that I just have with this is that if Tassadar would have played this a little bit different, if he wouldn't have had it straight for the third, but just try to flank it from the left, he could have gotten into a position at the mineral line where he can just completely trap these drones and then take some of them out. But because he was at the top left of the third base, he allowed Zenyu to get in there with the Queen, with a few roaches, and just press the units hard enough so that he had to back off.
Yeah.
I like that he was cautious enough to pull them back without losing anything, but I think with a bit of a better execution, he could have done more damage.
You're right. I think you're right. In fact, if he had not hesitated to drop in the main, he could have potentially gotten in there before the Zerglings came in. There were only 3 roaches there. He could have dealt with those. But in the end, he doesn't lose anything. Not even a single sentry. The Zealots were cancelled. He even canceled his forward pylon that he was using in contention with this.
He puts a bit of pressure onto the Zerg, but on the other hand, Zenyu is just good enough and has the multitasking to put this advantage that he has with the 3 bases to some good use.
Yeah, and now he doesn't have a third Nexus yet. He's actually trying to move out and take it. Zenyu continue to pressure him with these Lings. The Nexus is just now started, but it's pretty late.
The Spire transition for Zenyu will allow him to attack his opponent, try to bounce between the 3 bases and do damage. Blink is coming up for Tassadar, so he will be able to defend here. It will help him quite a lot. But if you commit on 3 bases to Mutalisk play, you can do a ton of damage, especially in the first few minutes before your opponents get able to get Storm in there, before the Stalkers are heavily upgraded. So we'll see how Tassadar is going to play this.
We will. He's using this Warp Prism in the corner, I think maybe as a distraction. It is completely spotted right now. He may just try to fly it in as a scout or drop a Zealot to get some scouting information of what layer tech we're going to see, because he only has 1 observer out right now. No, actually he has a second one. not using it to scout just right away, but
No
this attack...
Mutalisks. He's
Yeah.
only relying on Corruptors here.
And I think that's cool because he's already seen the robotic support bay tech, and he's just going to build into these Corruptors right now. He's continuing to pressure the third base. He's not quite able to find an opening, though. He continues to attack, but Tassadar is ready at every turn. He's even making 2 photon cannons to block the other side. His Guardian shields are consistently up. He's not burning any unnecessary force fields. He's actually totally fine here.
I actually didn't see the support. Mutalisk wouldn't have made a lot of sense here with the Corruptors. He's in a lot better position. He can use them to kill potential Colossi.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's already transitioning into Hive, opting for the Brute Loss. So this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does. It
With
definitely
those
makes a lot more
information
sense.
that you just mentioned, it's a lot more viable.
Yep. Here he goes, actually going to go into these Zerglings. There is a Cannon Wall in play, and he's going to try to go with the Roach to the other side. Zenio could be controlling this a lot better, but in fact he's not. And the Roaches get pushed back. The Zerglings are going to be chased back as well. He takes out the cannons, but that's all he gets, and that's what the cannons are for. So a great trade for Tassadar, who now has his third base up. He does not start mining gas from that third base just yet, but still, even so, he's building a pretty strong army. The problem for him is going to be, like you said, the Hive tech. He's already got the Corruptors out. You can make them into Broodlords. 7 Infestors on the way. They're going to finish in time with Pathfinder Glands. He's going to have +1 for his Muse, and +2 Carapace is finishing up here. Again, these Zerglings trying to find an opening, but they're just not quite able to commit.
The Warp in the main base now trying to focus on the Spine Crawler while Zenny is still posturing at the third base, which Tassadar tries to secure. Another attack at 2 fronts. He's trying to flank. The force fields are in position, and those Immortals do a shit ton of damage to all these Roaches. The force fields are decent, not perfect, but they are good enough to force Zenyo back once again.
Yeah.
And still the Zealots in the main base.
Yeah, the Zealot's doing a lot of damage, and man, oh man, is Zenio kind of in trouble now. He's getting his Greater Spire, but he needs to do something to buy time, and the time buying units that he had, for the most part, just died. Now he's forced on the retreat by these Zealot Warpins. While Tassadar's moving out, he catches 2 Infestors on the map, gets them for free. He's going to get this Queen as well, and this is such a scary push. With this many Immortals, he has 5 Immortals. He has +2, +3 is on the way.
We actually just scouted the
Oh,
main
no!
base. He snipes the Infestors. We snipes the Infestors, and now the Roaches are up against all these Immortals, and they're just too many without the Infestors and the Fungals. He can't do anything. They don't have enough energy. And guys, we just checked the main base of the Protoss, and he actually canceled the Robotics Bay.
Yep. And these Zealots are continuing to wreak havoc in the main.
There are some
Roaches,
he
but
cancels the Colossus, the Robotics Bay. No Colossi, but a huge commitment to Immortals, and you can just see how much this pays off for Tassadar.
yeah, it really does. The Immortals doing a ton of damage to the Roaches. The Corruptors ended up being useless in the fight. He tried to throw down some Corruptions. It was not enough. And just watch how fast Zenio is going to fall here. He's desperately trying to make Roaches. His Greater Spire was not done in time, and he is going to lose this third base, and potentially his natural as well. All that Tassadar has to do is walk across. He's killed the Greater Spire in the main base with those Zealots. The Roach Warren falls as well, and Zenio now is basically a man without arms and legs.
He does not have an answer for these Immortals. That's the big deal here. He was expecting a transition into Colossi. It never happened. Those Corruptors, they are dead weight. It's dead supply hovering in the air. They can't do anything. They can use Corruption, but that's basically all there's to it. And this was amazing by Tassadar. He takes down the third, but did he spot the fourth?
I don't think so. He does
No,
not know about
does
it, but
not know
either
about it.
way, man, I don't know if that's going to... If he can hold a lot longer here, that fourth may come into play, but if he just attacks up this ramp and breaks through, it's not going to matter. These upgrades at the Evolution Chambers are not done. +2 for melee does not finish, and +2 for missiles will not finish either. It looks like the Roach is being forced to engage against the force fields. He now tries to pull them back. The Macro Hatch doesn't give him a lot of space to move with. Oh man, this is just terrible. He blinks forward, and this is going to be it. GG. Tassadar and Enes Hosa take game 1.
Zenyo loses the game, and therefore Team Liquid is down 1 match in this team battle between Team Liquid and NS Hosa. Not the start they were hoping for.
Definitely not. Brilliant decision making by Tassadar, canceling their robotic support bay. That's something that Zenio did not account for. He wanted to use those Corruptors and continue to use his Roach pressure. The micro, by the way, for Tassadar from holding those attacks was really good, but Zenio, I feel, could have done more. He kept killing the cannons instead of just running the Zerglings by. He could have killed a lot more probes, and for that reason, you know, the attacks just were not as effective as they could have been. And from there, once he lost that army, he never had anything to buy himself time for the big push that was coming. Then he was like, wait a minute, you don't have any Colossi, I've got the wrong units.
This shot that we just saw from the Team Liquid bench is pretty interesting, by the way. We've seen TLO and also Hader talking with each other and just trying to talk a little bit about... it felt like they were talking about the next map already. And the next map is going to be Atlantis Spaceship. So, remake.
Oh, no, maybe it's not going to be this map after all.
Maybe it's not going to be the map, but with how they just
No, it's gonna be Ohana.
talked with each other, we might just see another Zerg player coming up.
We might. You know, when you have two Zergs talking to each other on the bench,
Like this and just trying... It looked like they were trying to talk about the strategy for the next game.
yeah, I think that's probably what we're going to see. The question is, which Zerg will it be? Will it be HeyPro or will it be TLO? With Ohana, though, it's not necessarily going to be a Zerg,
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
feel.
have to be one.
You know, I feel like we may see potentially even Genro here. I don't know what Tassadar is going to be up against. I don't. One thing's for sure is I don't think they're going to try to PvP him with Hero because
No,
they don't want
I
to
don't
show
think so.
Hero too soon, and he's their only Protoss option. So let's find out who it will be. Oh, what is this? I don't know who it's going to be. Is it going to be Hader? I think it is.
Hero? He was about to stand up. No. And
Oh,
it is
TLO coming out early. He winked at the camera. I wonder what that means.
It's
And
time
Tassadar.
for some German precision.
Testar, man, look at him. He's like, well, is he winking at me? I don't know. He's a ghost to the crowd, right?
It is actually TLO. We see another Zerg player. He was just consulting with HeyPro about the map and the match. And we'll find out if he's able to win in the GSTL. He lost in the final of the Code A qualifier with 1-2 against a Zerg player.
Yeah.
Against Shine, against TSL Shine.
That's actually a very good point. And
Now he's up against the Protoss, and he defeated Inca in the qualifier 2-0, a former Codesta player.
that's exactly correct, man. That is, I think, the biggest point to note here. I think that TLO can definitely win this match, especially if he gets a leg up, because TLO is the kind of player, I feel, more so than many foreign Zergs, knows how, when he's ahead, to actually force his opponent to react in certain ways. Like, TLO knows when to do the aggression and where to do it. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain, but like, he's the type of person who will do a lot of Zergling drops. Like, only when Zergling, like, the only time when Zergling drops actually work is when TLO does them.
What he actually just said, he uses a ton of drops. This is
Yeah.
something that most Zergs don't do, and we've seen him driving Inca crazy with them.
Yep.
But before we head in the match, guys, we are having a 5-minute break. Then we are back with Team Liquid against NS Hosa here at the GSTL. Alden Wolf.